And we are back. Welcome to my preview and predictions for tonight's matches in the Champions League. And what an opening night we had to the brand new Champions League season. Bizarre own goals, crazy red cards, ridiculous upsets, and unbelievable last-minute comebacks, and all of that in just the first 6 matches of the first match day of a 189-game Champions League season. What the hell is going to happen tonight? Well, what I'm going to do today is try and give you all the info you can so you can have your own decisions on these 6 matches taking place today. So as always, before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video. If you enjoy all of my prediction series, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with notifications turned on. We'll be doing this again tomorrow morning for tomorrow's matches. And then, of course, we've got Premier League and La Liga predictions coming for you again on Friday morning. Speaking of those games, the community polls are now available for you to get involved in all of the 20 matches taking place across those 2 leagues this week. So make sure you head over there. Link will be available in the pinned comment of this video to have your say on all of those matches, as well as tomorrow's matches in the Champions League as well. But without any further ado, let's look ahead to these 6 matches taking place tonight in the Champions League. So without any further ado, we head to the early kickoff of today, which sees 2 champions going head-to-head once again in this Champions League. It is the champions of Greece taking on the champions of Cyprus, Olympiacos taking on Pafos. And to be fair, Olympiacos have had a relatively comfortable start to their season so far back in Greece. They have played 3, they have won 3, and they've not conceded a single goal in the process. For Pafos, it's only been 1 win and 1 loss in the Cypriot League so far this season, but their season actually started all the way back in July. They had to go into the first round of qualifying for the Champions League, and just check out this list of teams they've already beaten to even get into the Champions League. Maccabi Tel Aviv, Dynamo Kiev, and Red Star Belgrade / Crvena Zvezda, all sides that have had a lot of previous time spent in the Champions League. So they've got previous already this season at beating sides that you wouldn't expect them to beat to get to this competition. And let's not forget, in the Conference League last year, Pafos got quite deep in that competition. So they should not be ruled out here. Obviously, we saw what happened last night with a side like Qarabag going to Benfica and getting a result. I don't think it's out of the question, again, that Pafos could get a result in this fixture. In terms of the team news, Olympiacos do actually have a few players missing for this match. The likes of Gelson Martins and Yaremchuk are both injured for them, as well as Sholakis being suspended because he was sent off in Olympiacos' final game of their Europa League run last season. Coming into this for Pafos, they have no fresh injury or suspension concerns coming into this, and they do have a couple of old FIFA legends / former big name players in their teams, the likes of Mila Orsic, but most notably former Chelsea and PSG defender David Luiz now plays for Pafos. So it could be interesting to see if we get any minutes from the 38-year-old in this game. To be fair, both of these sides were actually eliminated at the same stage of their respective competitions last year. I said Pafos got deep. They got to the last 16 of the Conference League. Olympiacos also the last 16. For them, it was the Europa League. I would still expect Olympiacos to get the result here. They are the favourites for a reason. They do have a good pedigree in European football over the last few seasons. Their first time back in the Champions League for a while. I think they're going to get the result here tonight. I'm going to go for 2-0. But as I've said already, watch this space. I think Pafos may produce some results this season. The other early game tonight is also between 2 champions in this Champions League, as it is the champions of Czechia taking on the champions of Norway, as Slavia Prague take on everyone's favourite 2 teams combined in Bodo Glimt. What's interesting about these 2 teams is that both of their domestic seasons are already quite far in. For Slavia, their season started all the way back in July. They're unbeaten in their first 8 matches domestically. For Bodo Glimt, their season started all the way back in March, prior to when they got eliminated from last season's Europa League. Reminder, they made it all the way to the Europa League semi-final before losing to Tottenham in that round. So they are a pretty damn good team, are Bodo Glimt. At the start of this season, well, during their season so far that started since March, they are unbeaten since August, with the slight exception of losing the second leg of their final qualifying round after already winning the first leg 5-0. So that was an actual victory over Sturm Graz of Austria. So again, they're a side that has proven themselves against other recognised sort of European/Champions League teams already this season. But what should be noted and what is holding them back, in my opinion, is they do have a very poor record away from home in Europe. It was their home form that carried them to the semi-finals last year. As I've literally just mentioned, they lost the second leg away to Sturm Graz after winning 5-0 at home. So as much as I do think that Bodo Glimt should be considered the favourites for this, I do think there are some limitations with them away from home. In terms of the team news, there is no injuries or suspension concerns for Slavia coming into this one. Whereas for Bodo Glimt, a couple of key players could be missing for them. Most notably their top scorer, who I still can't say his name properly, Hog or Ho or something like that. And then Saltnes is also out for them, who was a key player for them in that Europa League run last year. For me, this has the potential of realistically going all of the three directions. I think that Slavia Prague are being considered the favourites for this match, and I do think it's because of Bodo's away form, but I still think Bodo will get something from this match. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Like I say, if Bodo plays to their full potential, I can easily see them winning it. I just don't like that away record. On to the later kickoffs this evening then, and we've got a whole host of former European champions on show for the rest of this video. And we start off with two of them right here in Ajax taking on Inter Milan. Two sides labelled major bottle jobs from last season. Ajax throwing away the Eredivisie title, and it was right there for them with just one game to go. But Inter Milan managed to bottle all three tournaments last season, blowing it in the Serie A with a couple of weeks to go, crashing out in the semi-final of the Coppa Italia, and then rounding it off by losing 5-0 in the Champions League final to Paris Saint-Germain, a record defeat in the Champions League final for them. They will certainly be looking to bounce back this season. That said, it's Ajax that have had the better start domestically so far this season. They're unbeaten, but it's been 3 home wins and 2 away draws. For Inter Milan at the start of Serie A, 1 win and 2 defeats from their opening 3 matches in Italy, which includes that incredible 4-3 defeat they suffered to Juventus at the weekend. And my word, didn't Juventus put on another show for us last night with the 4-4 against Borussia Dortmund. Coming into this, it is Ajax that have a couple of concerns, most notably Van den Boomen is going to be missing for them. For Inter Milan, they have a completely fully fit squad coming into this match. Rightfully, I do think that Inter Milan should be considered the favourites for this match. But like I said, they've had a poor start away from home at the start of this season. And I do think it's going to be a close one. For me, it's one of them games where, again, a bit like the previous one, I think Inter Milan will probably win it. But it wouldn't surprise me if this is like a 2-1, a 3-1, a 3-2, maybe even a 1-all 2-2 draw. I'd be surprised if Ajax won it, but I don't think it's out of the question either. I'm just going to sort of land myself in the middle of it all by going for a 2-1 win to Inter Milan. But again, I do think it's going to be a very, very close one. Next up is probably the highest profile fixture of the night, possibly the highest profile fixture of the week, as multiple-time Champions League and Bundesliga winners, German giants Bayern Munich, take on the reigning, defending world champions and, of course, the Conference League winners from last season in Chelsea. So far, it is Bayern Munich that have unsurprisingly made the better start to their domestic season. They've not really been challenged so far in Germany. They've won all 3 of their opening matches in the Bundesliga, and their 2 home matches so far have been 6-0 and 5-0. So Chelsea are in for a bit of a tough night heading to Bayern Stadium tonight. For Chelsea, they've had a reasonably good start to the Premier League season. They're unbeaten, but draws to both Crystal Palace and then Brentford at the weekend does mean they're carrying a little bit less momentum coming into this match. Speaking of this match, both sides are carrying a few injuries coming into it. Obviously, we all know about Musiala's injury at the Club World Cup, but Bayern also don't have a recognised left-back for this match, with all of Alphonso Davies, Rafa Guerreiro and Ito out of this match. So it looks like Stanisic is going to have to play at left-back for them. For Chelsea, I wouldn't say any major injuries for them, but obviously still no Levi Colwill. He's out for the most of the season. The Lap's out for a few months, and Lavia is not close to being back just yet. Cole Palmer looks set to return for this one, though. The last time these two sides met was way back in the COVID season. And back then, it was a 7-1 aggregate victory for Bayern Munich. But if you look at the two squads since then, it's been near enough complete overhauls on both teams' regards. What I would say is that the way that Bayern have started, especially in those attacking areas, the likes of Harry Kane, Michael Olise, Luis Diaz, all former Premier League stars, all doing the business in the Bundesliga so far this season. I would have them as favourites for this match. And even if none of them deliver tonight, there's a certain Nicholas Jackson with a point to prove that's going to be sitting on that Bayern Munich bench ready to make a serious impact for them from it. In my opinion, it's Bayern Munich's game to lose. I think it's going to be a really tough game for the world champions. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Bayern Munich. Next up, it is Liverpool taking on Atletico Madrid. And for Liverpool coming into this, somehow, some way, they've ground out 4 wins from 4 in the Premier League so far this season. And no matter what you say about it, you've got to give them credit for all of those late winners despite the poor performances. For Atletico Madrid, they've been unable to deliver in poor performances so far this season. A draw and 2 defeats in their opening 3 games of La Liga. Thankfully for them, they bounced back with a really convincing win. 2-0 over fellow Champions League side Villarreal, who of course lost to Tottenham last night at the weekend. So they're going to be feeling they go into this game against Liverpool with a bit more confidence behind them, and obviously seeing how poor, in theory, Liverpool have been in their opening matches so far, they might feel like they've got an opportunity in this one, but we shall see. That said, for the visitors in this match, the injury news is not looking good for them. Confirmed to definitely be out, Alex Baena, Thiago Almada, but most crucially, star man Julian Alvarez, the former Manchester City forward, is definitely out of this match. Then they have an injury crisis at centre-back as well, with the potential of all of Jimenez, Lenormand and Hanchko all potentially missing this game. We'll see how many of them are actually in the squad and in the starting lineup. But if all of them are out, they're really struggling for centre-backs coming into this match. For Liverpool, only really one major concern for them, the injury to Alexis McAllister that he suffered in the first half against Burnley at the weekend. Unsure if he is going to play in this match. But what we do know is that at some point in today's game, Alexander Isak is going to feature. Will it be from the start? Who knows? Last time these sides met, it was back in 2021 when the group stages of the Champions League, with Liverpool winning both home and away on those occasions. 2-0 it was at Anfield. I'm kind of torn between 2-0 again or maybe just another 1-0 result. Given the level of performance we've seen from Liverpool so far, I am just going to go for that 1-0 win. But I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to springboard into some proper serious performances. Big European night. They always seem to deliver under the lights on a European game at Anfield. Could be the sort of thing they need to get their momentum going, despite the fact they've already won all their matches in the league. I don't think Atletico are going to get anything from this match, and I'm going for 1-0 to Liverpool. And then finally, it is the defending champions of the Champions League, Paris Saint-Germain, taking on Atalanta, who, let's not forget, in the league phase of the Champions League last year, finished way higher than what Paris Saint-Germain did. So don't rule out Atalanta in this fixture. Obviously, it was the second half of last season where PSG excelled, winning not only the Champions League, but Ligue 1 and the French Cup as well, a domestic/European treble for them. They did, of course, come unstuck in that World Club Cup final to Chelsea, but they even bounced back from that with a victory in the Super Cup against Spurs already earlier on this season. For Atalanta, a decent end to last season saw them finish in 3rd place, and they've started this season with a pretty decent run of form as well. They're unbeaten, although it was 2 draws prior to their 4-1 victory over Lecce at the weekend. You won't be surprised to know that so far PSG have played 4 and won 4 in Ligue 1. In terms of the team news, there are some big absentees for both sides coming into this match once again. For PSG, Ousmane Dembele, Desiree Doué, both definitely out for them. For Atalanta, key midfielder Ederson is out, Scamacca is injured again, Kolasinac is out at the back as well. And of course, there's all that dressing room drama surrounding Ademola Lookman at the moment for Atalanta. Could he continue to be a distraction coming into this game? We shall see. Ultimately, I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised when I say that I consider PSG the strong favourites for this match. But it should be noted that without those attacking players, they are a little bit weaker in those areas. It looks like it's going to have to be Gonzalo Ramos. And I can never remember the young guy's name, the Malapka, the kid, the guy who scored the 5th goal in the Champions League final. It's nowhere near as dangerous as what it could be. And with that said, it could open the door for an Atalanta upset in this match. I still think PSG are going to win though, but I'm going to keep it respectable. And I'm just going to go for a 2-1 victory to Paris Saint-Germain. Who knows though, Atalanta could quite well steal it. That is going to be it for today's video. As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below on these 6 games. But before we end it, let's see what you guys have been saying over on the community page for these 6 matches. Most of you have gone for Olympiacos to beat Pafos. Unsurprisingly, a lot of you have gone for Bodo Glimt to beat Slavia Prague. I was a bit surprised when I saw the number that high, but obviously given how far Bodo got, I get it. But again, just be warned about that away record. Most of you have gone for Inter Milan to beat Ajax. Most of you have gone for Bayern to beat Chelsea. Almost every single one of you has gone for Liverpool to beat Atletico Madrid. And most of you have gone for Paris Saint-Germain to beat Atalanta. That is what the community thinks. This is what I think for tonight's matches. We do it all over again tomorrow morning for the final matches. As always, a massive thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.